Hi, this is a subarctic beekeeper, one of the many. Our summer is over. I'm feeding my bees. Have to, because we are in a pollen dearth. That means there's no nectar or pollen available in the environment for them. Our fireweed, which is typically our last bloom, is done. I plant for my bees, so we have clover, phacelia, sainfoin, borage, and some other things that are blooming, so they do have access to that here, which provides them with better nutrition. They get what they need from the natural stuff, right? I do, during poor weather and right now at the end of the season, provide them with dry pollen substitute, which is in this container here, between these two hives. I'll put a piece of foam board over these two hives, and the bees will fly out of the hive and into the dry pollen, as long as they're kept dry. So I'll hang that foam board about a foot over these two hives. They take that dry pollen and put it in their pollen pockets, take it back inside the hive and fill those cells to make bee bread for the young. I'm going to add pollen patty, fondant, and syrup, all of which they'll ingest. In my pollen patty, I have pollen substitute, yeast powder, chickpea flour. I add chitin, pollen that I've collected from my hives, from my bees. Put that in a blender and blend it till it's super fine, because then it's easier for the bees to eat. I then take it out, put it in a bowl, and put in our honey, which is raw and unpasteurized. It's got pollen and propolis in it, all the good stuff. I add borage oil. I add some of my sugar syrup and lemon juice. Lemon juice changes the pH a little bit, makes it more digestible for the bees. In my sugar syrup, right now I'm still using a 1-to-1 ratio sugar to water, because I want to encourage brood production. I want that queen to keep laying. Even though we are at the end of our summer, we don't have much of an autumn here. I'm not sure how much longer we have. It's hard to say. Our weather's been changing drastically. But I want that queen to keep laying. Eventually I'm going to go to 2-to-1 sugar syrup. That's when they're going to put up the reserves for winter. Right now they're eating whatever's in this hive, which could be honey that I haven't harvested yet, or whatever they've collected. These are old world carnelians. They will forage at cold temperatures and when we have some rain. They also put up a lot of propolis to seal the drafty hives, which is great. So in that sugar syrup, I've got lemongrass oil, spearmint oil, that is dissolved within lecithin granules so that the oil dissipates in the water. I add that to everything. But I've also added liquid Hive Alive. I'm not sponsored by Hive Alive. It's just a good product. It's something I've discovered recently. My bees love it. I've got more brood production. They are healthier. My colonies are larger. This will be the second winter that I'm going into where they've had some Hive Alive. However, this year it's been consistent. Last year it was at the end of the season. It also helps get them some resistant to mites because it's got thymol in it. It's got seaweed in it. Who knew seaweed has trace minerals that the bees benefit from? But who knew that mushrooms have trace minerals that the bees benefit from? I do add a chaga tea bag when I make my syrup to that water that's heating up. So it's essentially a giant bucket of chaga tea with the sugar, the lemongrass, the spearmint, etc. Chaga is a mushroom that we have up here in the subarctic. I've got my pollen patty all prepared, which means it's nice and flat. It's over here waiting, as well as my Hive Alive fondant, which it gets gooey and sticky. This umbrella is protecting me and the hive from the rain. The bees are not happy. They don't want to be exposed to the wind and the rain. So the more that I can do to keep them calm and comfortable and protect them, the better. I'm going to open this. I've got my smoker going lightly right in between these two hives, so they get a little waft of that smoke. I want them to go down into the hive. And then I will very quickly put their food on, and then very quickly put this lid back on. The lid, which is the feeder. This is the lid, this is the feeder. I use a top feeder. All right. I do have my lid right here so that I can set my feeder on top. There's typically some bees clinging to it. I want to crack it with my hive tool and pay attention to that crack because it tells me how much propolis they're making. These bees make a lot of propolis, which is great. They do that because they're from a cold weather area. I do still have bees underneath my feeder. The bees are unhappy. I'm going to smoke across the top, not aggressively, but I want them away from the frames so that I can smush that pollen patty down. So adding the pollen granules that I've gathered from this area provides them with some of the natural stuff they're not getting right now. The Hive Alive fondant is melting in my hand. It gets wet and it kind of falls apart. So I got to put that on super quick because as soon as they taste that and realize that's on there, they come to the top and start to feed. Why am I feeding them both? Because the pollen has fats and protein in it. Hive Alive, the fondant, has sugar in it, which is going to give them the energy to do what they need to do. Can't just feed our bees sugar. They need carbohydrates, fats, and protein. The sugar is a carb. All right, it's on. I do have those straggling bees on the bottom of this, so I'm going to bump it again. Now I've got some bees on top of the feed that I want to move quickly. I've got my brush. I don't like to use the brush, but for this, it works. Okay, bees are unhappy, but I've moved them in. Lid goes on. I don't want to crush anybody. There's still some stragglers, but the cold temperature and the smoke makes it so they don't want to be up here. Come on, come on. All right, got a couple of them who are not happy with what I'm doing. So when I put these on top of the frames right now, it has left a tiny gap between the boxes. But I will strap these boxes and that will pinch them down together. Got a couple of bees who have gotten stuck. Syrup. This top feeder holds 2 gallons. Lid. And I'm done. Done. Now I want to strap this hive shut, keep out wind, rain, drafts, critters, moose that knock things over, and pinch those boxes together. That's it. I hope you are having better weather than we are. Take care of yourselves, take care of your bees, be kind to each other. Say prayers for Ukraine. This video is copyrighted and all rights reserved. Take care.